farmers in here.
Yeah, okay.
You guys are critical. All right. Come on, to get everybody. Come on in. Keith, gotta get in there. So, those of you who are familiar with corn know that in 30-inch rows, how much of an acre is in 17 feet, 5 1/4 inches, Keith? One 1,000th of an acre. So this is a thousandth of an acre, okay? And a lot of times, and this corn was not quite at black layer when I picked it a couple of days ago. Hopefully it is by now, but technically you shouldn't be doing yield checks. You shouldn't be doing yield checks until it's at black layer. Earlier in the season, people pick an ear, count kernels around, count the rows, and then they count plants or know what they planted it at, and then they do the math, and boom, you get it. So my process started, and when I was working with strip intercropping, the edge rows always did better, and I was trying to understand that, so I evolved to a process, and my little process now, I hope I'm not being too boring with this, but I pick every ear and weigh every ear, okay? And then I run a tape measure down here, and I record the distance along the tape that every plant is, okay? And then I got a little spreadsheet, and so I create a little field. And the little field is halfway to the next row. In this case, with 30-inch corn, it's 15 inches this way, 15 inches this way, and then I do a little bit of math in the spreadsheet to get halfway between these two rows. So this then becomes the field for this ear. So then I pick, I want to, the ear talks to you, the ear tells you something. As soon as you shell this, it's just a pile of corn. So the plant will try to tell you about its year when you look at it as an ear. And you can tell these guys are screaming. So I pick a few ears off the ends of the row. I weigh the ear, and then I shell them, and I weigh the grain, and then I do a moisture check on the grain. So I take the weight of the ear, correct it back to the weight of wet grain, and then correct it back to dry grain. So basically I've got, does anybody want to guess what this little row did? Just to be,
Is that 1 year?
no, the whole row.
Oh, the whole row.
The whole row. Yeah, this is
Based on this 165. Maybe 175.
Do we have any more bids? This corn's worth a lot this year, guys. Come on. 211 bushels. Is what this is. This is 200 bushel corn. Okay, now if you look at what the individual plant yield was, the lowest guy is down here a little ways. I think it might be this guy or this guy. The lowest is 79, and the highest is 338. So this is where Mike comes in here. The factory manager, Mike, comes in and says, "Bob, our process is out of control," and that's true. I mean, we would never tolerate in a manufacturing, man-made world that kind of variability. But this is what nature is. This is what nature's given us. Now, I've spent most of my time over the years believing that the root cause of the variability is at the planter or its emergence, which is a result of seed to soil contact. And that's, if you're gonna bet, that's a pretty good bet. And people spend a lot of money on planters and all that sort of stuff trying to do that. But what's interesting for me, this field, and again, we planted this at 28,000. So if you're a 250 bushel corn guy, what cap?
34.
34, 35?
Depends on the hybrid, yeah, 34, 35.
So we were way light, and then Mike and I had this conversation, and last year with nothing, it became, well, we put some corn in, so we got a place, nowhere to put the cover crop between it. Well, if we don't get anything, we don't get anything. But we said, well, let's go lighter. I've talked to some people at Cortiva, and we were talking about population, and what she said was people should size the population to the field. not to the variety, not to the farm, not to what your goal is. Figure out what the field wants to produce, set the population there. And in this case, you see very little tip back. Almost all the ears are full. When I see that, I usually think there should be more population. When I see multiple ears, I think that there should be more population. So in this year, for this field, for this soil, with the fertility treatment that we applied, I think our fertility guy showed up here, is showing up.
Yeah, he's here.
We'll let him talk a little bit later.
Okay.
We think the fertility was very effective, the timing and all that. So maybe we could have squeezed a little more out. But last year, this same amount of kernels gave us 0. And it was really weather based with maybe a little bit of a wrinkle on fertility.
The 3 ears on a stalk, is that what that means? 3
Yeah,
ears on
yeah,
a stalk?
yeah,
Okay,
yep.
can somebody explain why the second and third ear started?
Well,
Fertility
this guy had a lot of opportunity. They had a meeting early on and said, we're getting a lot of sunlight. I'm making this up, Bob. I don't know.
You got an agronomy guy down there.
Okay, come here, agronomy guy.
Why did you get a
Put him to work.
Hey, introduce yourself, first of all.